Yep, mics are good. What's up, everybody? Let's get cracking.
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by X Insurance. X Insurance. From the Sig Sauer Studios. On the Patriot Mobile Platinum microphone. Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Well, that was loud, too. I had to bring my volume down here in my ears. I'll blow myself out. What's going on, everybody? 6 Hour Studios fired up for you. Welcome to the program. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense begins right now. I am Mark Walters, and I will be filling your prescription for freedom today for the remainder of the hour. Here in the, as I said, 6 Hour Studios, Patriot Mobile Command Center mic fired up for you. Yeah, baby. Greg in Dallas, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Ready to rock and roll? It's Thursday.
Yeah.
It's a day before your favorite day.
Can smell the weekends.
Are you going on vacation next week?
I have family in town, so I'm going to take a couple days off and spend time with them.
All right, good. So sometimes when family comes in town, it's anything but a vacation.
Yeah.
Depends. It depends.
Trying to keep everybody entertained and happy.
That's a fact, Jack.
Yep.
All right. Well, why don't you tell people where to watch us, and I'll just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you can watch us on Facebook right now. We are live on Facebook. I'll fix my hair up. I got my 6 Hour hat on. There we go. We're live up on Facebook for you on video, facebook.com/Armed American Radio. Greg will take the rest away, and we'll go to our guest, Dave Workman.
Yeah, you can also watch the show on YouTube and Rumble if you do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. If you want to watch us over on X, it's at AAR Mark. To join our live chat, download the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
That'll do it. Dave Workman, Second Amendment Foundation offices, CCRKBA offices, beautiful Bellevue, Washington. How the heck are you today, Dave Workman?
Well, I'm okay for an old guy.
You're not that old. I had a birthday on Monday, so I'm an older guy. How about that? So I'm catching.
Well, too bad for you. I've had a lot more birthdays than you've had.
That's okay. I'll let you win in that category. Okay. I'll let you win in that category. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Workman is a fan favorite for a reason, and you're, as we say, south of the Mason-Dixon line. You're fitting to find out why. Dave, what is the single most important thing, before we get into what I want to cover with you, which is a lot of your writings, because you have some great work up. You always do. What is the single biggest, most important thing 2A related right now? Right now, today.
I want to know if the new Pope has a 38 or a 45.
He's from Chicago, so he's probably got nothing.
Yeah, what? No, Alan Gottlieb was sitting in my office
Derringer.
a couple hours ago when it was announced that we've got a new Pope. And the first Pope from the United States.
Yeah.
Why they picked a guy from Chicago, I'm scratching my head, But, no, in all seriousness, this is probably going to mean a lot to all the Catholics all over the world. My sister is a devout Catholic. And when last we exchanged text messages, just the other day, she was on her way to Montana. She's got a house or act like condo over there. And so I imagine that sometime between now and when it gets dark in Montana, she's going to be jumping up and down. So
yeah, it's fun to watch that stuff. I've been around a while. I've seen a number of those conclaves, and I was born and raised Catholic. I was not a fan of the previous Pope by any stretch, okay? And millions of Catholics around the world were not. Political left leanings that I just felt he stepped out of the guardrails, He did talk about gun control at a certain point. I don't need a lecture from anybody.
Right.
Okay? Stay biblical. Stay popey. You know what I'm saying? Stay more. I had a problem with that. I don't know enough about this guy, but it is fascinating to watch that ceremony. That has been going on for thousands of years, and it is quite cool to watch. The black smoke, the white smoke come up, and I was a little surprised when the white smoke came up today. myself. But yeah, to all the Catholics around the world, congratulations. It's a really cool thing to see. It really is fun to watch, and the history behind it is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But Dave,
moving right along.
Yeah, moving right along. Let's keep going here. I want to go to a piece that you put up today first over at Liberty Park Press, which is one of my favorite websites.
Okay.
It's such an easy read. I love, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think I've told you this enough, but libertyparkpress.com is a great website to go to get some good conservative news and to get all your gun stuff. It pretty much covers everything, but Dave covers all of your gun stuff over there on a almost daily basis. If it's out there in its news, Dave's going to be writing about it. But this is interesting because it popped up on the show the other day, very briefly. Missouri again tries 2A Preservation Act, earlier law struck down. And this piece posted and published at Liberty Park Press, straight shooting news, by the way, just to give you that, ladies and gentlemen, at Liberty Park. But this posted up today. So tell us what's going on in Missouri, because they need to pass it. We all need to have something like this.
Well, a couple of years ago, I'm not quite sure the timeline. I don't have the story in front of me. But anyway, Missouri had adopted and passed a statute to protect the Second Amendment. And the long story short, the law prohibited local law enforcement from assisting federal law enforcement from enforcing federal gun control laws. It was struck down by federal court. Now they're back with what they call a modified or an improved, a new and improved version of the act, and it went through both houses of the legislature, and it looks like the governor may sign. We're going to find out, and then we'll probably go through round 2 of all the court challenges all over again. Although,
I know, right? Golly.
Although, remember this.
Yeah.
Joe Biden ain't in the White House anymore. Donald Trump is, and the Attorney General of the United States is not Merrick Garland anymore.
Thank God for
There's
that.
a woman named Pam Bondi, and she has pronounced a couple of months ago that, hey, wait a minute, we're going to put together a task force to protect the Second Amendment. And we're going to see how this shakes out, because it was the Justice Department that went after Missouri before. There's a new sheriff in town, the Justice Department, and let's just see if the DOJ actually does anything about this, or sits back and say, the last guys in here, they were all wrong. We're going to let this stand.
Yeah, I want to kind of juxtapose this about with Connecticut, because Connecticut is now making it easier to sue gun manufacturers, and there's a huge fight up there, in the state of Connecticut right now. And honestly, the Republicans they don't stand a chance up there. They just don't. Now, Connecticut listeners, let me back off that. I know you're preparing for a fight. It's already passed out of your House, and it's going to your state Senate now. That is going to make it easier for gun grabbers and haters to sue gun manufacturers out of business. Now, Dave, I'm going to go here. All right. So that's why when you make the comparison between Missouri and you make that comparison with a state like Connecticut, honest to God, I have to ask this question. What are you doing in Connecticut as a gun manufacturer? Why are you still there when they are coming after? They're trying to bury you. And now with state legislation, they're going to make it easier and easier and easier to sue you out of business. Your insurance rates and we're talking dealers, wholesalers, manufacturers. If they don't take and it's a very broad term, reasonable steps to ensure, come on, what does that even mean? And now I've got a threat of being sued out of business. My insurance was $4,000 10 years ago a year, and now it's $25,000 and going up again. Why even stay there? Isn't that a legitimate question? I hate to ask it.
It certainly is. And, I think if you take a look at what's going on elsewhere around the country, for example, Texas is making gun manufacturers welcome. Montana is making gun manufacturers welcome, and they're doing a fairly good job of it. The Governor Greg Gianforte over there, and the Attorney General
Knudsen, he's wonderful.
Austin
He's been on the
Knudsen,
show. He's been on my show.
Yeah,
The guy's amazing.
Knudsen's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he is actively down at the SHOT Show the last couple of years, anyway, that I know of. He's been going around talking to different gun manufacturers and telling them, "Hey, look, you want to operate back in the United States? Come to Montana."
Yeah.
And frankly, what is going on in the Northeast and here on the West Coast in Washington and Oregon. California is already down the tubes, but Washington and Oregon used to have really good, reasonable, sensible, moderate firearms laws.
All right, hold that
now
thought.
They're going nuts.
Yeah, they are going nuts. They're all Democrats. That's why they're going nuts. They're going nuts for lots of different reasons. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense continues on a Thursday here at the Patriot Mobile microphone, 6 Hour Studios at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here in the 6 Hour Studios, Monday through Friday. Gotta love that. Yes, you do. I do anyway. I love getting up and doing this show every day. I really do. Not that I get up right before the show because it airs at 4 p.m. live and then it's broadcasted all over the country on a number of stations. I don't sleep in like that. In fact, I was up at 7 o'clock this morning and Patriot Mobile Ranch was fired up early today. I was probably up a little bit earlier than that. Anyway, welcome back in. Guys, please go out of your way to support all of our partners. Please, you can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. And as I told you, over the next month, we're going to have some big announcements, some pretty fun stuff going on. Greg in Dallas, Texas, would you make your mic live for me, please? And Dave Workman, Welcome back in. Dave, we were talking about what kind of gun the Pope carries, right? And, Greg in my ear.
Really in jest.
Well, Greg in my ear, I thought he was on a live mic. And the reason I thought that was because I noticed in the chat somebody else said the same thing at about the same time. And Greg, your response was what?
I mean, I think it'd be pretty badass if the Pope carried a Derringer. The papal pistol would be a
little Derringer.
A Derringer, yeah.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. So anyway,
awesome.
I just wanted you to get that out there. I thought it went live, and when I saw somebody put that in the chat, it was coincidental because it came out at the same time. But
it's probably the first time papal pistol has ever been uttered on live air.
Uttered ever. Dave, have you ever heard of the papal pistol?
Well, it's good alliteration. Other than that, I'm not too sure it makes a lot of sense.
It's fun to
be
talk
a hell
about
of a marketing tool, but...
By the way, speaking of marketing tool and guns, there's a story out that gun sales are still booming. While they're down somewhat, ladies and gentlemen, you're still buying guns at over $1 million a month. We'll go there, too. Did you write about that? I think you did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's where I saw that. Okay, we'll go there because I think that stat is huge, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So go back. Let's go back to this Connecticut thing here. During the break, I got to thinking of it. And, it really angers me that I even have to mention it. I have a lot of friends in Connecticut. Way back in a galaxy far, far away in my life, I got married in Connecticut one time, long time ago. I graduated high school in Simsbury, Connecticut. I have a lot of lifelong friends in Simsbury, Connecticut, still to this day and throughout the state. And I hate what they're going through. But when you've got dealers, look, if I'm a dealer in Connecticut, you know what I'm going to do? I'm either going to find something else to do, or I'm going to move if it's all possible. You got to wonder why stay there. And then I don't know. I go as far as saying manufacturers should stop selling in places like that are so hostile.
You look back at what I've written over the last 4 or 5 weeks, especially as it applies to Bondi and her Second Amendment Enforcement Task Force. And I've written about this at the Gun Mag, at Liberty Park Press, at Ammo Land. I've even got an upcoming piece in my online weekly column for American Handgunner and Guns Magazine about this. What is happening here, I think, is very significant because this task force, their job is to take a hard look at state and even local laws that infringe upon or impair the Second Amendment. And if you recall, the Citizens Committee about 3 weeks ago posted we wrote a letter to Bondi, and then we put an online petition up in which 12 states were specifically named, and Connecticut was one of those, where we think that Bondi should turn that task force loose. The sad part about this, if you look back over American history, last month we celebrated the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Now, those are in neighboring Massachusetts, and we all know what those battles were about. The government at the time, which was still the British government, they sent troops to confiscate the arms and munitions belonging to guess what? The militia, which meant belonging to the good people who lived in those little places, Lexington and Concord and the little villages around there, and we shot them over that. That was really the start of the Revolutionary War. They just didn't realize yet. It took a little more than a year for the Continental Congress to send a Declaration of Independence to the king and say, you know what? Well, we're going to make our own country, get out. And that's when the shooting really started. But Massachusetts and Connecticut, they really are the birthplace of gun rights and freedom in this country.
Well, you'd never know it.
Look and see what those governments are doing today to this. It's despicable.
Yeah, it's un-American, it's anti-American, it's disgraceful, it's sickening, quite frankly. And I've often stated, Massachusetts has lost the right to keep that hallowed ground. If we could cut it out and put it on a big truck and move it to a free state, I'd be all for it. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking tongue-in-cheek, but the point that I'm talking about, the point that I'm making here is they have not earned the right to call that land what it is at this point in their history for what they have done to our rights and our freedoms, particularly when you, as you just mentioned, when you go back and look at what actually started this was a battle over gun control. And, you know, our good friend Carrie Auclair, who you know from Gun Owner Action League, just held a great event up there, and a number of great speakers were there, including Colonel Alan West and herself. Our good friend Cam Edwards was there, and many others, celebrating that event and the birth of the United States of America, what gave rise to our eventual freedom. And shortly after they left, here comes the governor, who is screaming for more gun control to stand on that hallowed ground. You know, that irony is not lost on me. And it makes me sick to my stomach. It really, truly does. My heart breaks for the people, the freedom-loving people that have to put up with this. But, guys, it's not going to get any better for you at all behind the blue wall over the next 4 years. So my question to you would be, what can Bondi do? Well, what they can do is find the laws that they don't like that infringe on the Second Amendment and do what, Dave? Begin suing them in federal court over these things?
You bet you they would go after them in federal court with civil lawsuits, and in some cases, you know, let's not ever rule out criminal charges. And remember this, you know, there is a federal statute. It has to do with deprivation of rights under color of law. And, you know, if I was a law enforcement officer in one of the dirty dozen states, I'd be scratching my head a little bit about running around enforcing gun laws that are in violation and in direct conflict with the Second Amendment and with the state constitution. I'd have to think twice about that, because whether they like it or not, if Bondi is true to her word and true to her mission, it's coming.
Well, I hope so. Enough civil lawsuit. Enough giving them protection with taxpayer dollars. Start perp walking some folks for violating your civil rights. We'll be back with Dave Workman. 2 segments to go. It's going up. I really want to play my guitar. I want to play it right this second.
Daniel Defense firearms are guaranteed for life, trusted worldwide, and designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Daniel Defense is freedom, passion, and precision, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to check them out. You can visit all of our partners at armedamericanradio.com, including Daniel Defense. Took the vet up today and got her cleaned up a little bit, vacuumed it out, and did all that fun stuff. Got some pollen off. Haven't had the top down on, or the top up on the vet, I should say, in about 6 weeks. So it had a lot of pollen dust on it. It was driving me nuts. And while I was out there, I opened up the trunk lid, and there's that beautiful M4A1 that I carry with me in the vehicle. It's a beautiful thing. Make sure to check them out, DanielDefense.com. You can support the Double D Foundation, and also the rest of all of our partners, including MyPillow.com. Like I said, if you've got something you want to buy, gifts, all it makes great gifts, believe me, and it's cheap. AAR is your promo code. You can use that promo code at Emerson Knives and pick up a gorgeous Emerson knife and get 10% off of that Emerson knife. And I saw a number of you have done that. Please take advantage of that. That's a great product at a great price. When you can get 10% off of one of Ernie Emerson's creations at Emerson Knives, take full advantage of that while it's out there, guys. And don't forget ammosquared.com, ammosquared.com. Start stacking ammo. I got my email yesterday. You've got ammo. That's a beautiful thing. It's a 401k for your ammo. $15 a week is what I give them. And I'm well over 2,400 rounds now. It just keeps building every single week. You can do the same thing. And don't forget to clean your guns with Barrel Buddy, barrelbuddy.com, barrelbuddy.com. And one more for this one, when from the return from this break, and of course that's Bud's Gun Shop. You want everything they have, and they have everything you want and what you need. Great, cool Bud's Gun Shop shirt going on right here in the studio. Bud'sGunShop.com, our exclusive online retailer. Check them out and support these businesses that support this voice on the radio every single day for years. Dave Workman, welcome back, brother. Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's kind of segue over to Americans still buying more guns, because I like this. You know, we hear all kinds of weird stuff going on in the firearms industry right now. And,
yeah,
you know, a lot of them are cutting back in budget areas, but Americans are still buying guns at over $1 million a month. So where are we here? Is there a disconnect, or is this a good thing? What's happening? Are we seeing a downturn? Are we seeing an upturn? What's happening with the Trump effect?
Well, okay, let's start with the Trump effect. Here's what happens whenever there's a Second Amendment friendly, or at least perceived friendly administration. People don't feel that their rights are threatened, so they don't rush out and buy a gun or stock up on a bunch of ammunition. They figure, well, you know, I can sit back and relax and kind of enjoy myself and blah, blah, blah. When there's an outwardly hostile administration, such as the last one under Joe Biden or whoever else was the president for the last 4 years, there is a rush. And, of course, the big spike came in 2020 after the George Floyd, riots, let's call them what they were, and the pandemic. People went out and they bought guns, they bought ammunition, because for the first time in their memory, suddenly it looked like we might be in a little bit of urban trouble. Mm-hmm. And the police were being, their funds were cut back, they were losing manpower, and all of that stuff combined to force people to start considering that, gee whiz, I really am responsible for my own safety. So jump ahead 5 years. Here we are in 2025. Yes, gun sales have declined over the last 3-4 years. That's a given because, A, everybody bought guns when they could buy them. Mm-hmm. We don't have a nation of active shooters, really, that go out to the range every week, or they don't want to buy the next gun that's on the cover of the gun magazines. But still,
I do.
There is an interest. Me. Yeah, I know. There is a great interest in owning firearms because the manpower, the police manpower thing is still a problem in a lot of communities. And, somebody who wants to make sure that he or she and her children, his family are safe, they're going to do what they're going to do. And that's why they fall back on that good old Second Amendment. And I think the fact that they are still buying more than 1 million guns a month in this country,
it's a huge number,
should
really
send a signal. It really should send a signal, not just to the politicians who are trying to stamp the Second Amendment into oblivion, but to the bad guys that, gee whiz, maybe the next guy that I'm going to attack is going to turn around and put a great big hole through me. There's a good deterrent effect.
Yeah.
When you have an armed citizenry out there, the bad guys take notice of that. Nobody likes to talk about it. Nobody likes to write about it. But I think that there really is a deterrent effect involved in self-defense shootings. When you read about that, the next bad guy who hears about it says, well, Louis didn't do good the other night. Maybe I'll go to a movie instead.
Yeah.
It's that mentality. So, hooray for all the people that are exercising their Second Amendment rights, especially in the states where they have to put up with a lot of red tape and guff.
Oh, such a mess.
We'll talk about that another day, but this is a significant thing that I think people really don't pay a lot of attention to, but they should. And as I wrote the other day, Washington State has set a brand new record for concealed pistol licenses. We've got more than 705,000 licensed citizens in Washington State who are licensed to carry firearms. That's never happened before.
Washington's an interesting place. I want to go there with you, but before I do, I want to give a couple quotes from your piece over at, and this is an Ammo Land piece that came up, about 8 days ago. Rasmussen, Americans still buying more guns. But take a listen to this from Rasmussen. According to Rasmussen, 19% of American adults say they or someone in their household bought a gun in the past year. 19%. Figure it, 20% of Americans. There's 330 million of us. 64% of all American adults say the main reason most people purchase a gun is for self-defense. The veteran polling firm revealed, which says a lot about the public confidence in the ability of law enforcement to respond quickly to violent crime. Now, you also have a political persuasion. Here, let's go here. Political persuasion plays into Rasmussen's findings. Republicans, 71%, are far more likely than Democrats, 60%. To believe self-defense is the primary reason for owning a gun. Although I got to tell you, 60% of Democrats believing that is still a somewhat substantial number. And then you go and quote the Trace. And that's interesting. We'll go there too. But earlier this year, the pro-gun control publication, The Trace, Bloomberg funded, for a disclaimer, folks, ladies and gentlemen, or sake, ladies and gentlemen, The Trace updated a report originally posted in 2023 in which it was estimated that since 1899, more than 512 million firearms have been produced for the U.S. market. Now, I don't know where they're getting their numbers. I don't know how much to believe from The Trace. That number doesn't sound too far-fetched to me either way, but 1899 is only 1 year from 1900, okay? The country was founded in the 1700s. So when you consider that, do we just forget those numbers pre-1899? No. Oh,
frankly, I don't know that we've got the records that go back.
Right, that's probably why.
Because, as you know, a lot of those guns didn't have serial numbers, and they just kept cranking them out.
Because they didn't have to.
And now, and credit goes to the Trace for even doing that kind of research. And I actually believe their number, because why would they report it? They don't really care for the gun people that much.
No, you're spot on.
I think they were trying to be accurate. So I have no reason to disbelieve their estimate that 512 million guns have been produced since 1899. That makes perfect sense to me.
It does. And as we go to this break, when we come back, I do want to talk about that 60% of Democrats before we go back to Washington. So I've written both of those down so we get to both of them. But, that pretty much does jive with what we see coming out of places like the NSSF, National Shooting Sports Foundation estimates, NRA estimates. It's pretty much in there. That's why I said it doesn't surprise me either way, as either too low or too high. I think it might be fairly accurate. When we come back, one more segment with the great Dave Workman. We'll be back right after the break. Don't go away. Back at you.
This segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Daniel Defense. Visit DanielDefense.com. Now, back to the show.
Back to the show. Final segment on a Thursday. That means when we meet tomorrow, it will be Friday. I'm looking forward to that. I had a weather issue. We just got a severe thunderstorm alert here. And when I walked out to the studio, it was beautiful, bright, and sunny. So there you have it. Welcome back, guys. 6 Hour Studios fired up with you. Mark Walters in front of the Patriot Mobile mic at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. And we're talking with Dave Workman. Dave, welcome back in, my brother. Always fun to talk with you. This segment's going to fly right by. It always does. But there's two issues that I want to cover with you first, is the 60% of Democrats. I found that really interesting. Because if you had asked me that, if you and I were sitting somewhere having a beer, and I would have put that number at around 30%. That would have been my guess. So I was a little surprised by that 60%. Were you surprised by that Rasmussen finding as well?
Why? Democrats, in my recent experience, they're going to protect their butts, and they can complain, they can moan, and they can argue and start yelling stuff about dirty police officers and tear down the administration and we hate Donald Trump and all of that stuff.
But my ass matters.
When push, that's right. When push comes to shove, my ass matters.
That's a
really
T-shirt, bro.
A great definition.
That's a T-shirt.
Yeah.
A picture of an AR-15 with that slogan on it. We might want to do something with that. That's kind of fun, actually, because it's true. It's very true. And look, is there hypocrisy there? Yes.
Yeah.
But I could also argue no. If they're admitting that it matters, well, yeah, it's still hypocritical, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because they support the party that wants to take away your guns and all the shenanigans. Now, that doesn't mean that they agree with it. I know a lot of Democrats that don't agree with positions on gun control from the Democrat Party. But, yeah, all right, there we go. Let's
here's the problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mark, you and I both know, because we have talked this over a snort. Mm-hmm. They keep voting for these people because they can't see past the letter D.
Correct.
And yet they turn right around and practice that hypocrisy. They quietly go out and buy a gun.
Yeah.
They don't tell any of their friends, oh, I'm a gun owner, I'd like to shoot them. No, they don't do that. They turn right around and start complaining about guys like you and me being gun nuts. Yeah. And, we want to kill children, all of that stuff. And yet here they sit in their homes, and they've got guns. And the sad part about it is most of those boneheads don't know how to use them, and they really should go out and get some instruction.
Yeah.
And yet they complain about us not having instruction. I'm going to just guess here, but I bet you and I combined can outshoot most Democrats on any given day with our eyes closed.
Yeah, I would. I would agree with that, and I would also bet that you and I can outshoot most law enforcement officers too.
Well, I've outshot a few of them. That's so.
I know some that shoot competitively that are pretty darn good, and I know some.
Yeah.
They'll just tell you that they don't shoot. They don't shoot recreationally because they view their gun as part of their job. It's a tool for their job. They shoot what they have to shoot to maintain qualifications, and they, when they come home, they take it off. I get that, but I don't agree with it. Hey, for the sake of time, this conversation is a great segue to Washington State. Because we're talking about Democrats here, ladies and gentlemen, some hypocrisy here. Nowhere in the country that I can think of is a better example than Washington State. Because there is a dividing line in Washington State between conservative and liberal. It's crazy. You have tremendous preemption laws in the state of Washington. Blue is all get out, but you have great preemption laws, which has saved your tail, believe me, a number of times. However, you get outside Seattle, Olympia, and a lot of you are listening in Washington. We have a number of stations tuned in. You get outside those areas that are very well-defined Democrat, and that state's as red as they come. There's just not enough of them because it's so rural. So, when you talk about Washington State having 700,000 permits, it seems to be a big disconnect there, but it's really not when you break down the politics and the layout, the geopolitical breakdown of the state of Washington itself, Dave.
It is, and it mystifies me that we don't have more people in those districts, those conservative rural districts, who actually turn out to vote. If they did, if all the red area voters in Washington State actually did turn out to vote, because of the way that the self-assured people in the blue areas, a lot of times they don't vote, we could outvote them. We could beat them.
And you know what else is interesting, too? All those Democrats that want to protect themselves are all worried about protecting themselves because My Ass Matters are protecting themselves from other Democrats. I just want to make that point. Seattle, you have issues, okay? You have a lot of issues, there's no doubt. Oregon falls into that. I could make a pretty strong comparison between Oregon and Washington, although I don't think Oregon has the preemption statutes, the strength. I don't know what the permit numbers look like in Oregon. I do not believe they're anywhere near Washington. Everybody in those red areas, it's got those permits, whether it's Democrat or Republican, really, quite frankly. You look at the total number, I'm sure there's Democrats that have permits in Washington State. But it is a bizarre disconnect. It's always kind of baffled me. And another state that kind of fits in that with me would be Vermont. You know, very liberal state, but for years and years and years, for decades, we referred to constitutional carry as Vermont-style carry, as you recall.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
They've never required a permit from the state's founding.
Well, I know that I know when I've got a friend who's an attorney. She's a bright gal. She used to be solid Democrat. She has left the party over some of these issues of hypocrisy, and guns being one of them. She came into my office one time, sat down, we were having a chat about something, and she reached down and she was doing something. What are you doing? She said, well, I'm just readjusting my holster. And she's got an ankle holster on. You got a 38 in there. I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? Now I know why you and I are pals.
I love a woman with an ankle holster, baby. I love that.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Nah, you'd be carrying a thigh holster too, girl. Go for it.
Yeah,
strap one around your waist and a belly band from Crossbreed while we're at it. There's the shameless plug.
It really is a remarkable conflict of, I guess, philosophies going on there when you see somebody who continually votes in gun Democrats and they're walking around packing a heater. I mean, it's just, going, wait a minute.
Well, good for them for doing that, but, you know, that's a start, okay? That's a start. Because that person that values their right to carry a gun can be fixed in due time, as you just pointed out. That person is fixable. The Democrat that's not fixable is the Democrat that stands out there with David Hogg and screams all the lies all day long. That's not a fixable Democrat. That's an ideologue. You're never going to fix those people. Walk away from them. Don't even waste your time bothering talking to those lunatics, because that's what they are. Dave Workman, where can people find you, brother? We're at the end of the hour, and thank you so much in advance for being here, as always.
Okay, thegunmag.com, Liberty Park Press, AmmoLand News, Guns Magazine, the print edition, 280 Defense. Look for me there every month. American Handgunner Insider online. Look for me online every week. Just Google it up. I'm there.
Dave Workman, we love you, brother. Thanks for fighting the fight, and thanks for doing it as long as you have. You are a legend. Man, ladies and gentlemen, David Codrea yesterday, Dave Workman today. A 1-2 punch. Wow, we love you guys. Thanks, Dave, for being here. Guys, we're going to get up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want us to have these conversations. That's why we have these conversations. We're kind of in their face about it on radio stations across the nation. Thank you for being here, and support all of our partners from ArmedAmericanRadio.com. See you on the radio tomorrow.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
Okay, guys, thanks for jumping in today. Appreciate it much. Mucho gracias, amigos and amigas. Thanks for being here. Please, again, go out of your way and support all of our partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. They're no-brainers, man. They're great at what they provide for you guys, the best of the best. And as I said, over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks, we've got some pretty big announcements to make, some fun stuff coming up. And we will get up and do this again tomorrow because they don't want us to. So enjoy your day. Stay safe. Never leave your cave without your club. And I'll see each and every one of you on the radio mañana.